Hello, everyone! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's Daily Brief. Woohoo! Woohoo! Party! Wow, Brian's gone crazy today. Anyway, great to see everybody in the lounge, and I'm so surprised. You guys jump in here and fill this place up really quickly. So great to see everybody. Got another action-packed episode for you, rocking the crypto world, and it's awfully nice to see. Finally, we got a little bit of bullish price action on Bitcoin. We can talk a little bit about the short that I strapped on yesterday. I was up chunk, didn't hit stop to break even though. So just sort of musing. Then the market rallied. Now I'm underwater a little bit on the trade, and Julian actually on that rally signal pulled the hedges off. So I'm kind of wishy-washy here right now. Was this dead cat bounce? Was this, the start of a new bull trend? I don't know. I do think there was a lot of rumblings, and Thomas, before we started the video today, was going to talk to us about what's going on with this EOS and the ETH trade. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's feeling as though a lot of this counter trend rally has a lot to do with Ethereum getting off its butt. But we will see. I did find it interesting looking at the rags this morning. The broader markets are all over the place. Stocks are just getting their heads handed to them. And of course, all of the talk in the market, and it's interesting, maybe we're getting some capitulation volume here finally. But the euro is just coming off in earnest. And so as a result, actually gold's not doing too bad. I did hear sort of scuttlebutt, gold's coming off because the euro's weak, but then gold's rallying because people are scared shitless about having their money in the system. So they're going to buy gold as sort of a fear proxy. And in a weird sort of way, I think that's one of the reasons why Bitcoin caught a bid this morning. So that's good to see. And interesting also to see that the yen is actually catching a bid here this morning on this event as well. I'm quite surprised, and I suppose this is our flattening yield curve thesis. The bonds have really bottomed in earnest here. And actually, we were looking at this also, too. I'll give the bear a minute to comment on this. But, the bear's favorite indicator in Chicago, the VIX index, is just launching itself higher this morning. And I also noticed, we were kind of just reviewing the charts before we got going here. I noticed that the internal breadth of the stock market is not happy here whatsoever. Big fat M. And really, this thing, it looks like we break this trend line, we could see some serious dip here in the stock market. And of course, with this sort of idea, sell in May and walk away. And where are we here? We are basically the 29th of May. If we look back a month or two from now and find out that, yeah, the top of the market came in, sometime in May. Usually June's a shitty month in the market. So don't be shocked if the stocks all just sort of go into shell mode for the next month or so. But, what I thought was interesting is there's a bit of fear being injected into the market. And Bitcoin's catching a bid out of that. So in a weird sort of way, if there's a lot of rumblings about the euro falling apart and the politicians, just doing their thing, being crazy, and no leadership from the higher ups, I'm sure that's going to help Bitcoin's story. I did see also, too, this morning that the Euro Bitcoin conference is going on. And I did see someone posted the video lead. I think it was Jeremy of it. And it was interesting. Just a few minutes ago, I was kind of watching Bitcoin kind of fluttering here. Basically, they launched the market up on one candle. And then you can see for basically the end of that candle, then 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours here. We've basically done nothing. And then the head of Wikipedia came out here about a half hour, 45 minutes ago and said, oh, Bitcoin's a fraud. And the irony of it all is basically, I got a funny feeling that the market was anticipating him saying something negative. So he said that. And then I tweeted out right after that, well, that's probably going to cause the market to rally now. So I think as it stands right now, we had the big pop, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Bear and stuff will talk about some trades that developed for him through this sort of event last night. And really, what I see happening right now is just a lot of backfilling. You could also argue too that when the institutional boys came back from the weekend, there's no flipping way they're going to dump Bitcoin and crap it out without the Chicago boys getting the opportunity to get short from the levels that they hopped off last Friday. So maybe this is another one of these sort of, Tuesday, Wednesday kill zone kind of setups, and then we roll over back over again, start testing these lows again. So pretty exciting, especially with the long weekend. You often get some really nasty fuckery in the market. Thomas is going to tell us some stories about some of the altcoins and how they're, the scuttlebutt is maybe one isn't as great as the other, et cetera, et cetera. I would just simply say that, we're in a really interesting location here. And if, the powers that be can actually put in bottoms here, you can see they're trying desperately here to carve out nice railroad tracks here on this Phoenix chart. You can see the RSI is trying desperately to bottom as well, and we got into oversold territory. So this is encouraging, but I don't know whether we can, officially declare that this is now a bull market. Away we go. I guess it's also interesting too. We were sort of talking about a lot of these names were coming down into location. Even my big hairy ones. I thought this was fascinating. Big hairy ones came right down to the original double bottom and are trying to reverse here as well. So in a weird sort of way, this is the kind of, let's go in and try and buy against lows. And you never know what the fuck's going to happen. And I got to admit, through the end of the long weekend there, especially yesterday when the shorts were working, this sentiment in the space was extremely negative. So yeah, maybe it's healthy for a nice counter trend rally. Just to simply relieve a lot of their bearish sentiment. Okay, Mr. Bear, how are you doing this morning?
Very well. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you. I see you guys having a good old time in the lounge, posting all your various different bear charts, bear pictures, I should say. It's always I find it incredibly amusing, and I love the sort of lighthearted, jovial sort of nature of the chat. Understand, everybody, this is very serious work that we do here, and it's difficult. And if anything, use the lounge as sort of a release of your anxiety, and then just talk with people, converse. That's very healthy, in my opinion. All right, so I've clicked on your screen here, Mr. Bear, and I do see a beautiful blue head. I don't know whether you're going to try and show us something. Oh, here we go. All right, so where do you want to start us off today?
Where do we start off with? I'll just bring up marketwatch.com and show everyone what the entire marketplace is worried about right now, and that would be Europe and Italy. The very headline is George Soros says Europe's existence is threatened by 3 crises. And then most of the sub-headlines are all about Europe, Italy, what the ECB needs to do to avoid a catastrophe with a banking crisis in Italy. And everyone's spooked right now. This is starting to get worse and worse. We picked up on it last week once the bonds went flying and the internal indicator suggesting that Italy was in trouble started going up. And it's just interesting that the first day back from Memorial Day, things just look like shit's hit the fan here. So
we also have to be cognizant that Mr. Soros has a reputation of sort of stoking the fire right at the point at which he wants the public to panic and sell, because he's going to be in on the buy side. So we have to be careful with him.
That's a great point.
He did it. He did it in the China trade about 2 or 3 years ago, and it was just absolutely textbook. So I appreciate Mr. Soros's concerns, but when I look at this euro chart and I look at the U.S. dollar chart, if you're thinking about selling euros right now, you've come to the party way, way too late. So do we really want to get sucked into Mr. Soros's panic? We talked a little bit about how this might M out and roll over. Well, now you can see the kick-ass divergence now is really going to come in. And gee whiz, can everybody see the capitulation here? Like, this is the definition of capitulation. So, I appreciate Mr. Soros is just stoking the fire. And it makes sense that people are going to get as panicky and as worried, at the end of the event, not the beginning. But if anything, yeah, you're absolutely right. Basically, everybody's got Italy in their crosshairs. Probably as a good guideline of how this is going to play out, let's go back and look at the Greece situation. It took months and months for that to play out. And I wouldn't be surprised if probably the entire summer were spent Italy this, Italy that, Italy this, Italy that. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Continue, please.
Well, I mean, that's really the main story in the global marketplace. I guess we can move into crypto. I mean, I can briefly comment on the VIX actually before we move on, which is that I've been actively hunting calls on the VIX for the last month and a half since I've been blabbing about that. And the prices just, they weren't good. I couldn't get anything to fit the SOF. I couldn't find anything long-term to buy me a year's worth of time that made any sense. And unfortunately, I got locked out of this trade because of that. Maybe if we come back down again, there's a chance, but I have a feeling that volatility, the VIX volatility, go figure, is going to make this a very difficult trade to get into for me. So unfortunately, there's no way into that, but there's other ways of skinning the cat. You can always, I guess I could probably do the inverse, or the dog, I guess, is something that Grim was talking about. I wonder what that's looking like now.
Yeah, while you're finding that, I'd also say too that the VIX index gapped higher here this morning. So my hunch is, after this sort of dust settles, if you are interested in hunting this trade, my hunch is on this gap fill over the next week or two, that's probably where your trade's going to develop. Yeah, but you can't chase it here. That's just asking for trouble.
Yeah,
and if anything, the way that they gapped it higher here, they kind of froze the public out of the trade, eh?
For sure. This dog trade sure looks nice. We've got a MACD divergence working here. Price made a lower low, but momentum did not. This hasn't confirmed just yet, but it's sure looking juicy.
Yeah.
I'd probably be setting bids, like as we saw with the VIX gapping higher. The same thing happened here on the dog, unsurprisingly. But this could be where a nice trade could be developing too.
Yeah, buying against support there. Probably just see if it can hold that POC. That's not a terrible idea. Or you could just wait for the big W to come in. I think we were, I posted in the lounge, and I don't know whether I was recording or not, but this foundation of cycle guys, if this plays out the way they're thinking, that dog trade is probably going to rip right up to that $70, $80 level. So, I mean, $60. If anything, we should probably, can we get options on this thing? Have you tried to find options on this thing?
I did not. Let's see.
I think I remember we looked before and they just don't have them available, but, oh, not these guys, but CBOE.
They are here. The question is there enough open interest for us to get any action? And they only go out to November anyway.
Yeah, well, I think the trade, yeah. Usually the market bottoms the last week of June, first week of July. So I think if there is a trade, that's probably the window that you're probably going to want to be looking at it. Oh, yeah, okay, there are some. With this thing popping up a bit, it's probably a bit expensive, but no open interest and no volume, man. That's a little disappointing. Yeah, well, maybe we can take a look at those later on in the day. Okay, so stock market's doing its thing, up and down like a horse drawers. It is interesting to see with Bitcoin coming back here a bit. I know guys like Raf We're following the gold in Bitcoin terms. We've talked recently about reload zones and stuff like that. So Raf, keep your eyes open. Now you can see, looks like there's a cheeky little gap right here, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, maybe that's clean. But you can see reload zone within reload zone. And actually, what kind of candle is this carving out today here? So, this might be further anecdotal evidence that Bitcoin has pivoted in the short term. We'll see whether this, reversal engulfing bar actually confirms today or not. But if you were thinking about buying some gold versus Bitcoin, it looks to me like down in this area is probably where we want to focus. So a little bit expensive right now. But I also noticed too, Thomas's favorite stable coin. Is that what we're calling these things? He's looking a bit engulfy as well. So there's more sort of anecdotal evidence that maybe the panic is abated here in Bitcoin.
It's interesting. I saw that $38 million worth of true USD had to be moved onto these exchanges from them themselves to contain what was going on with the price movement.
Well, that's good. I mean, at least they're putting their money where their mouth is. You can see the Nubits guys. They've just, it's just been a train wreck for them. So, and here's the problem with these quote unquote stable coins is it in anybody's interest to actually run these markets and see whether they can break their back? And as you can see from the Nubits trade, if you know how to play this game and you know how to run these markets and when to attack these guys, it can be extremely profitable. So, it's a dangerous game that they're getting into playing this stable coin game, no doubt about it. Never a dull moment in this space, that's for sure. All right, so do you want to maybe, for the good audience, maybe tell them what you're seeing out of the Bitcoin chart right now?
Sure. So
we'll head on to Bitcoins. Bitcoin tastes great.
Let's start with, let's start with London Kill Zone yesterday. I was taking a look at this chart around, I don't know, probably midnight or so Eastern time. And let's see, is this even a good one to use? Yeah, so this thing was going sideways for the better part of the evening and into the London Kill Zone. And I'm thinking, all right, there's no trade here. Nothing's going on. But I've been watching Litecoin forwards because that's what I've been trading lately on OK Exchange. And I noticed that Litecoin had broken out leading into the London Kill Zone, and Bitcoin was still in a sideways trend. So at this point here, this was starting to break out into the 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, which is 8 o'clock in the morning London time. And as this had made a new high from this range, of course, Bitcoin was still stuck here. Nothing had happened. Now, if you go and look at Ethereum, which I think is driving the bus here in this market at this point, mainly because of all the focus on it from, lots of different reasons. But anyway, so during the kill zone, this thing had kind of broken out also on, is this Finex? Okay, so this is Finex, but forwards had broken out. Where's my forwards chart here? Okay. So this thing had broken out leading into the kill zone at about 1 o'clock in the morning as this was going higher. And the kill zone action that brought this into a liquidity event was down not much. I mean, it was like $20 pullback before this thing decided to just ratchet higher into that kill zone time. And of course, New York decided to go higher. And Litecoin also moved higher. So I had taken a long off this breakout here. I called this a W breakout. I had some anecdotal evidence on the lower time frames that this momentum and that the market structure here was starting to come in. So I took a long off the 113 area, which is right about here after this broke higher, and I bought into this retest here. And then I was actually sleeping while this happened, and I set my stop down at the 112 area, and I woke up this morning and I was, pretty happy to see that this thing finally decided to actually go higher. I mean, it's been so long since we've seen Bitcoin put in some nice green candles to the upside, and that's what's happened here. I don't have any reason to close this trade yet, right? I mean, this thing is just starting to look like it's reaching a short-term exhaustive period, with Willie becoming overbought on the 30-minute. The hourly's not quite there yet, but I see a lot of this happening in the lounge, and I want to make sure you guys are paying attention here, is that once you see this initial liftoff and you see the market selling off for so long, we all get so fixated on the short side because it's all we've seen for weeks and weeks and weeks. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I wouldn't be running into this market at this point here and shorting this thing just yet. If this thing puts in some structure and decides to roll over, then fine, I get it. That's a great place to be putting in your short. But this initial bounce higher is just that. It's a bounce, but it's not a reason to be firing off shorts into something like this. I see a lot of people jumping the gun, and I've seen the same people do that before. So just be mindful of that. That there's no trade on the short side just yet here leading into this market. I mean, the same thing is going on across in Bitcoin also. I was using a Litecoin chart before. Same thing here with Bitcoin. I mean, there's no evidence here that this thing is ready to break down from a market structure wise. Sure, Willie looks overbought, but I mean, this could just go sideways for the rest of the day, and this condition will resolve itself. So the point of my message is just wait for your signals and don't front run this thing unless you have real reasons. And the real reasons would be coming in on the shorter time frame, and there's still nothing here, right? There's no divergence. There's no market structure. This thing is just probably going to go sideways for a bit, if not move higher into that event. So that's what I'm thinking here. I think this is the initial bounce. I'm not sure how much higher this can go. I'm going to have to take my cues from the 4-hour, which is now just starting to turn to the upside and looking slightly with a slight bullish bias. But there's nothing really nice to be trading off of here. At least from what I'm seeing on forwards. Let me bring up a stamp chart. Stamp here is, this top pane is the 15-minute. Let's see, anything on the 4-hour. I mean, it's the same thing. We just put in this V bottom, and unfortunately, we don't like to see those. I'd like to see some W's come in, put in some nice market structure, but we do have the daily, which has been playing around with this long MACD divergence. If I can get my internals working here. Everyone remembers this really, really long MACD bullish potential divergence that's been waiting to come in here. And we still have a couple more days to go before this thing can confirm. But this is our first real nice green candle action. And if we can get another bar higher tomorrow, that'll just add fuel to the fire for this MACD to go positive, putting in this nice divergence. Looks like OBV doesn't have a nice bottom in it just yet. So as far as getting super bullish here, I think it's too early, but I do like that, we put in a green candle, so everyone's celebrating, woohoo, here we go. But again, too early to get too excited. Show me a W, show me this MACD divergence come in, show me that OBVW, and then we can say it's time to turn the corner. But for now, the only thing we have going for us is this RLZ location, and it looks nice. It looks like a great place to be buying, but there's a lot of things that could potentially weigh this thing down, and I'll get into Ethereum and EOS after Brian gives his view on what he sees here. Brian, are you seeing the same thing that I am, or am I just out in crazy land?
I think that we had a pretty typical long weekend in Bitcoin. It's funny. I think on the Friday show, we were kind of like, "Oh fuck, here comes a long weekend. Get ready for some shenanigans." If we look at the higher time frame charts, nothing has really changed there yet, which kind of sucks. But you know, I am on my little matrix here, and actually, one thing I wanted to bring up today, which is kind of a fun tool. I used to use it when I traded crude. And, you know, on any given day, you have to ask yourself, what's realistic? And, you know, first and foremost, the trend is still down. If anything, though, you can see when these moving averages get too wide, there has to be some sort of check of them. I see that happen a lot. So, you know, we crossed bearishly back in, I guess, right on my birthday. Happy birthday, Brian. Here's a big fat sell signal, you cocksucker. Thanks, Bitcoin. Moving averages getting a little bit wide. 9 EMA, and keep in mind, of course, this is our sort of institutional bias, right? So they're still thinking down. But, you know, when we're sitting down here near the lows and even the fast moving average is like $500 away, don't be shocked if you see just nothing more than just a check of fast moving average. Very normal. As well, too, and this is what I made reference to just a moment ago, if you see like a big update, and I think this speaks well to Thomas's comment, you know, probably we're just going to go sideways here for a little while. And sort of digest this move if the market can. But really good sort of tool for you to use to try and help you understand price action is this indicator called the ATR. And you'll notice that the ATR's reading right now down here, you can see if you just read this number here when my mouse is over there, it's like 420, 430 bucks. So we pull up the chart today and we see that we opened up and our low here on this particular chart is 70.60. And gee whiz, today's rally peak is 74.80, or basically $420. And ATR said that today's average, the average true range right now is $424. So it shouldn't surprise us that, number one, you know, especially through that long weekend, they love to fuck with the kids through the long weekend. It's just so cliche. As well, too, I noticed, and I even posted in the lounge yesterday, they were just throwing the fucking altcoins out. They were just literally throwing the baby out with the bathwater. When I was looking at the list yesterday, like these were like minus 15%, like right across the board. And that had to be sort of another anecdotal piece that, gee whiz, we're getting washed out here. And, you know, I've said repeatedly in the past, and, you know, if it takes some time to sort of get used to this thinking, I know it's a pain in the butt. Is this market manipulated? I think so. But the long and short of it here is the Chicago, notice that right where we are right now is basically where the Chicago boys went out on Friday afternoon. So really all they done here this morning, this one bar, was they just brought the market right back to where the Chicago boys, you know, stopped on the weekend, before the holiday weekend. And now we're going to find out whether they, them, those guys, and a great timing calling me here. It's kind of a bad timing. Whether this is actually a top or not. As I had sort of said earlier on in my commentary, coming up against those short-term resistance levels, can we carve out a railroad tracks reversal? Railroad tracks, just simply a big red bar, open up near the bottom, not much of a new tail or low, and then violently reverse right back up to the previous day's close. This is a two-bar pattern, bang, bang, but the actual signal is generated on a move above this high right up there, and that'll happen tomorrow. So given our conversation about ATR and the 9-period EMA as sort of real resistance, and then you sort of think, where did the Chicago boys go out? Where is the previous highs on this thing? It makes a lot of sense that we've sort of jumped up off these lows and we're just going to consolidate a little bit here. And then, you know, ultimately what I'm worried about is, does the market just roll over halfway through the New York session and crap out, right? So just one bar, boom, right up here. I mean, talk about a manipulated market. Ay caramba. And, you know, for the past 5 hours, we've basically done nothing here. And so, you know, as we sort of talked about a moment ago, do we M out here and go through this low? That didn't fire, but you can see the sort of rip-roaring bull. We put in a tweezer's top. That did fire. And so now I think the market's just on pause. That's sort of what I'm seeing right at the moment. I don't think it's not, you know, it's a little bit too early to call the bottom. I think the price action here, believe it or not, it isn't too surprising. You know, for whatever it's worth, I put on my bot trade. My bot stop is way up top here. So right now I'm just sitting here just twiddling my thumbs. There's just not really anything for me to do right at the moment. So I don't know whether that helps the equation. I did notice, you know, Thomas is going to be talking to us a bit about Ethereum shortly and EOS. I did notice when on my Gann charts, actually here, I don't know whether I was showing any of that or if I was clicked on the wrong damn chart, but hopefully I've got my screen on there now. I did notice that Bitcoin is fighting desperately here at the 8-to-1 angle. And, you know, that's sort of like a trader's paradise level. You know, we often talk in the education program 3 reasons. I know a lot of guys who love to use 8-to-1 as their location tool. So it does make sense to me, and you know, reload zone. It does make sense to me. Guys are going to be taking shots off of higher time frame, off a location here. That doesn't surprise me one bit. The Ethereum one, I thought this was fascinating. We're still in the speed bump, and you can see there's that potential railroad tracks. And as I think Tom's going to talk to us a little bit, you know, this EOS, obviously, they have a how do we say this? They could potentially derail the Ethereum story. But there was a big sort of official report overnight about how EOS sucks. And in essence, I think that's what's generated this reversal. You know, for the ETH enthusiasts, I would highly recommend that you wait till we get out of this arc, speed bump, right? Think of Brian's chin. We might just inside bar here and then fail and keep heading right back down. And really, the rule is we're going to hunt the first market structure on the other side of this arc. So I think the jury's still out here on ETH. And of course, given that this is a V bottom, like we said, we just bounced straight off of these lows, we could very easily run out of enthusiasm. They just brought the market right back to the Chicago boy levels, and then they go right about their business, reshorting and etc. So that's sort of what I was thinking. I don't know. Did that kind of help the conversation? I hope it did. Mr. Bear, what do you think? Did that tie in with what you're with what you're looking at?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're on the same page.
Okay, what do you have on your screen here? EOS dollar 1-day Bitfinex. All right, EOS is not done dumping Ethereum ETH yet. All right.
You're like
I'm just reading your headlines.
Text to voice.
Yeah, Brian.
All right.
Reading. Way to go, Brian. All right, I'll shut up. Talk, please.
You got it. All right, so EOS is the story in the headlines this week. Everyone, all eyes are pointed to EOS and Ethereum. And why are EOS and Ethereum tied together? Well, EOS launched their ICO through Ethereum. Now, the question that we all need to know is, how much money did they raise through their ICO? Well, they raised 5 million Ethereum, which present day is equivalent to around $2.6 billion. That's quite a sum of money. So what's going on right now? Yesterday, we saw the amount of shorts in Ethereum go to new highs, new historical highs. We've never seen them that high ever before. Yesterday, I showed this chart, and you can see that back in September was the last time that shorts were ever close to this area here, and now they have more than surpassed that area. Now, the question is, who is the one shorting here? And there's been some reports in the community that people think that it's EOS. The community the guys that are running EOS and control the Ethereum wallets that funded the EOS project are shorting Ethereum. Well, that wouldn't make any sense, because if you were the one running the project and you hold a bunch of Ethereum and most of your capital is tied up in Ethereum, you're not going to be shorting your own capital. It makes no sense. I don't know why people are spewing off that theory. But the point is here, someone else has picked up on this idea that, well, hey, EOS is going to split on Friday once the mainnet goes live. EOS is going to split from the Ethereum blockchain, and they're going to become their own blockchain. Now, there's a whole bunch of people that think that this is a threat to Ethereum, that EOS could undermine and take over, and people will abandon Ethereum because it's not as efficient as EOS. I think that's overblown. But what's really going on here is that people are shorting Ethereum because they realize that EOS needs to raise money to continue to fund their project and continue to fund the mainnet and whatever else they need money for. So the idea is that some big player here has gone in and taken an enormous short position because they realize that the majority of these 5 million Ethereum are going to have to be sold, and they're going to move the market. So there's a little article here that I found that talks about the technicals of this selling event that happened yesterday. And I'm going to kind of skim through this with everyone while we read these paragraphs, because I think it's important that we realize how much Ethereum they still control. And not only that, but how, what's the word that is polite? Kind of like Kobayashi, the Mt. Gox trustee, sold all of his coins, and some people thought that he sold them on the open market. Well, the same thing's happening here, where they think that the people are in control, the EOS developers and guys behind the scenes running the program there, are selling their Ethereum directly on Bitfinex. I'm not sure how anyone was able to confirm that. I think people may have the wallet addresses for where most of these Ethereum reside. And if that's true, and you can see that these wallets, the coins were moved to Bitfinex and they sold on Finex, it's ridiculous. I mean, you got to be selling these things over the counter or through block trading. And that's why we're seeing, we saw that huge dump in Ethereum yesterday, at least. And while the shorts on Finex spiked more than 20%. So this is the current landscape, is that all eyes are on EOS and their mainnet launch on Friday. So that makes you wonder, what's going on with the mainnet? Well, there's been some musings for a while that Ethereum has Da Vinci. I short Bitcoins to keep my cash value of my Bitcoins. Yeah, I get it. I get that I get your point here. The EOS vulnerabilities came out. There was a company out in China that came out and tested the code on the mainnet. They looked through all this, and they found that there's a number of vulnerabilities that could potentially ruin this mainnet launch. And what are some of those vulnerabilities? Well, they're vulnerabilities that would enable someone to take a 51% stake in the network, take control of the miners, use them as a botnet, use them to launch DDoS attacks, steal keys, private data, compromise smart contracts. I mean, you name it, this is a disaster if all of these bugs are actually in the program. The company that released them was, let me find the tweet. I tweeted this out last night once they came out and published the report, and there's a translated version of that report for anyone who's interested in reading about the technicals of those exploits and code vulnerabilities and bugs that they found. This is a Reddit thread. I can post this in the comments for everybody. But essentially, there's a nice little write-up here that details what some of these risks are. Now, the question is, are these actually real bugs? Are they still in the code? Because obviously the developers are actively trying to get this crap out of their code before Friday's launch, because a lot of the price here is predicated on Friday's successful launch. And I think some of the pullback here is happening as a result of the, I mean, I don't know if I can call it FUD at this point now that we're seeing security researchers coming out and saying things like that. And moreover, I wonder if I have the specific article. Yeah, so here it is. So from one of the team members named Daniel Larimer posted this last night on Twitter. He said, help us find critical bugs in EOS before our 1.0 release. And they're willing to give $10,000 for every unique bug that can cause a crash, privilege escalation, or exploiting smart contracts. And they're actively looking for people to find these things. I mean, I think that's great due diligence. And I'm sure that the community is going to interpret that as, oh my God, there's so much wrong with this whole thing that they're even paying people to do their work for them.
I always remember an old line from years ago: never buy the 1.0 version of a software. Have you guys ever heard that term before? It's like, it used like 20, 30 years ago, it used to be cardinal law: never buy the 1.0 version. I don't know, I'm just being silly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm the same way with technology. Any first release I'm not buying because I want to see it tested and see what's wrong with it.
Someone says here that bug, I guess, has been fixed. And I would imagine, maybe that's why the price of this thing didn't just outright collapse. But we've talked to you guys about the chart on this EOS. To me, it scares me. It gives me vertigo. And then also that, remember I told you, I don't know whether it was a Broiler Chicken show or yesterday, I said that I posted, Three Musketeers videos, and these guys, they don't know what the fuck a chart is, and they're just like, oh, we're in love with this EOS. It's the next best thing since sliced bread, which also scares the shit out of me. So I don't know. I guess the long and short of it is we're going to find out Friday whether this thing lands flat on its face or not, eh?
Yeah. I mean, I just hope that they don't have any vulnerabilities that enable someone to take control of the entire network after it goes live. That would be nothing short of disastrous, not only for EOS, but I mean, for the rest of
everybody, if you're relatively new to crypto, I've posted this before. Do yourself a favor. If you don't believe that this shit can land flat on its face, just do some research into this DAO. I used to always call it DOA. The DAO attack and how brutal this experience was. I put in here in the library under the fun images and videos. I put it in the cute little anecdote that these guys do of this funny guy I've shown you before. But seriously, guys, I mean, this stuff does happen in this space. And I would never just blindly believe any of these guys 100%. Like, shit does happen in this space. But be careful, okay? So the scuttlebutt now, I guess, and guys, maybe collectively weigh in on this. Scuttlebutt now, EOS is back on track. The shit hasn't hit the fan, or is it right now? Oh boy, everybody's really skeptical about this.
Yeah, that's the word here. Nobody knows what to make of this. I mean, unless you know how to go through the code and make your own decision about whether or not there are those bugs and vulnerabilities, whether or not they've actually been patched. I mean, there's really no way for us to know. It just depends on who you trust, which report you're trusting. And again, the only way to verify this is if we have anyone in the community that's familiar with the EOS code and can go through and be like, okay, this was patched, this was patched, this was found, and it's not patched. This looks like a vulnerability to me. I mean, that's really the only way we're going to know for sure, short of Friday's launch and seeing this thing nosedive on itself. So
I will say that, for longtime SAPE members, and it was funny because when Thomas and I pulled up the chart this morning, we were like, well, it looks to me like your last opportunity to get a half decent buy on this EOS was down, maybe even this reload zone and this double bottom right here. I mean, this is the kind of shit that we really want to see when we're thinking about risking our hard-earned money in the marketplace. Nice W's, nice W's. Dav, I see you over there on YouTube. Would you be getting a Davo on this breakout right here? This is the kind of stuff that we really want to see, right? Nice meltdown, into reload zones in this particular case off of this range. Nice W's in the indicators in both price and volume. So when I look at it right now, I go, okay, maybe there was something here, but I really, really dislike this trade location, right? Maybe you had like Mountain Man tag, but going long here, oh God, this just gives me vertigo. So, I mean, I cannot participate in this story. I'd love to. And I guarantee you that if and when this thing settles down and it comes down into higher time frame reload zones, and we put in a nice, bottom. I love the idea of the market coming down against these lows, all of these lows in here, and putting in a nice W. I'll be looking at this name, but I can't touch it up here. It's just too expensive. Sucks, but that's trader's life. Actually, what I wanted to show you guys before we finish today is ideas that I do like. Look at this goddamn NXS. Does anybody remember us talking about this just a few days ago? Double reload zones, W's coming in. Look at this freaking OBV. Now, look at the difference between this OBV, right, and that EOS OBV. This guy is kind of floundering here, right? And then also notice what I kind of like about that NXS is look at the volume bars now are starting to ramp up here. I definitely think we can't chase this thing. And if you wanted to get in on this, right, you get just like I did with that EOS, you got to work your reload zone bids. And interestingly enough, the reload zone right now is basically exactly where I bought before. Damn. This is everything that I teach in this program, guys. And hopefully, can everybody see this price gap right up top here? Right, there's a big hole in the charts up here, and I think I've pointed this out to you guys before. Look at this hole right up here. Right, that's what I'm going to be gunning for. And right there's a gap right there as well. So I know it's very tough in hindsight to go, oh, yeah, well, I would have totally bought that. But you got to force yourself when they come into these levels to get your bids working and buy against low ends of ranges. This is exactly the kind of shit that we're talking about. You just never know exactly which one's going to go which day. But, damn, that's a beautiful looking chart. And my hunch is, so they've got satellites, you say? So my hunch is probably, ironically enough, this one, we could probably just play connect the dots. I wouldn't be surprised if we're up in this area at some point this summer. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. So, these are the kind of names that we have been buying. And, I think I've said repeatedly of late, guys, this is a coin picker's market. You can get wrapped up in watching the Bitcoin chart and it's, 7,500. Now it's 8,500. Now it's 7,000. Now it's 9,000, right? And drive yourself crazy. Or you can go out and bang out doubles and triples on these little coins that are putting in the most beautiful bottoms here. And really, this is where the money is going to be made. I actually saw one that I bought recently, this Golos. I mean, look at that. It's just beautiful. Right. And you just have to force yourself to step in and buy against the bottom end of ranges. It's difficult. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's easy. But this NXS, seeing this today, this is exactly what it is that we do here and why we do it. Any altcoins that you're chewing on other than the Ethereum, EOS, Litecoin trades? And I do love that Litecoin trade that you're back in on. So I also do like, Thomas is very flexible. He has a flexible sleeping schedule. So he is able to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not all of us can trade that way. But, if you want to learn to live the day trader's life, I think Thomas is an excellent mentor for all of you. And he can speak about what a day trader's life is in crypto. And it means living very odd sleeping hours.
Yeah, and being bored for hours at a time with nothing to do while you wait for the London kill zone to come in the overnight hours.
Yeah. Well, and okay. So, are there any alts that you're chewing on here?
Nothing that stands out for me, but I do want to finish one thing for complicity's sake. Is that a word? Complicity? I might have made that up. Anyway, the amount of Ethereum that's still held by EOS is 916,000 Ethereum in one wallet, and then there's another wallet of 237,000 Ethereum. So they still have about 20, 25-ish percent of the coins that they initially raised in their control. So if they really want to dump on this market, they can and continue to push this thing lower. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, that this threat is still on the books.
The EOS people that are opening up these shorts on Ethereum, is that your theory here?
No, I think that my guess is the reason these shorts are open is that some, big investor, some institution, or someone with a lot of money sees EOS as a reliable short, and it's probably someone that can see the code, that has experience with mainnet launches, and understands that this thing's not going to go live on Friday. And if that's the case, this is certainly a buy the rumor and sell the news situation. And I think that EOS will come down if they come out and say that they can't launch the mainnet. I don't think this is the EOS team hedging their position, because they wouldn't skyrocket their shorts to all-time highs, because to take that much of a short position, if the market goes too far against them, they lose all the money that they raised. I mean, sure, you hedge the amount that you have on margin so that if it goes against you, you're still at break even. That's the very definition of how a hedge works. But I don't see them taking a position in which they want to manipulate the price, and I don't see them trying to do it to make more money. That would be very irresponsible, and certainly not something a company like this would do, or any realistic company that has real advisors. You don't want to try to raise money for your project by trading. That's not something I think would happen. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, cool. All right, why don't we finish off today? I want to try and keep up on your requests, so let's go take a look at a few of the names you guys have asked me to look at. So UTK on KuCoin. I noticed that these Korean coins sure can launch, eh? So if you are interested, definitely get your account set up. I like what I'm seeing here. Definitely Nanny Nibbleworth. What I actually like, and you can see that they put in this this nice hammer here, sort of marking the lows. It looks to me like whoever's running this, I don't know whether that's a zero mark. What is that? 900. Okay, well, that's not bad. So you can see where, smart money stepped in and said, no more down. You go up now. They've brought the market right back down against those lows. And you can even see that, just like the broader market, we're trying to put in some railroad tracks here. You can see this has got a bit of a high wick here, though. So I don't necessarily know whether I like that or not. But, the trade location, love it. Damn it. Keep doing that. Sorry, guys. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate that. So here is this UTK somebody asked for on KuCoin. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I may not be. And as I said just a moment ago, here's that hammer that basically marked the lows. And you can see the right out of the gate, somebody dumped it, and then the buyer stepped in and supported the bottom down in here. I absolutely love, just candle body, especially when you get these big, thick candle body close levels right there. And it's interesting how that's basically the hammer level. And that seems to be where somebody's putting up a really good fight here now. So really, Nanny Nibbles, love it. I don't know how many are out on this thing. Got to be always worried about that. And I noticed that we've done this a couple times on Coinigy, and the data is not really helpful there. So you're going to have to go over and check out, where are we here? Crypto, and we'll go coin market cap. And what did we say that was? UTK? UTK. UT Trust. Is that what we're looking at here? I think this is it. So 300 million on this. Am I looking at the right thing? I might not be. UTK. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I am. UTK. So, $34 million market cap. You're not going to say it's cheap, that's for sure. Are they trying to reinvent the wheel? I don't know what the fundamental story is. 300 million coins outstanding with another 200 million to hit the market. Not going to say this thing's light. That's, that's heavy-ish. Trading at 11 cents a coin. And I actually do like the idea that they can actually put like a dollar figure on these. Just looking at this chart again, Nanny Nibbles kind of idea, perfectly fine with that. Just go and you're buying against the bottom end of the range, rock and roll. You want to find some a little bit thicker sort of anecdotal evidence that the bottom is in. I think it's always a good idea to wait for some sort of signs of divergence in momentum. You can see that the MACD indicator on this push went down to here, then it bounced back up to here, and then we've slowly melted down. We've made new lows in price, but the MACD histogram is not making new lows. And as well, our overbought, oversold indicator, Willie, is basically telling us that the market is stupidly oversold. So put it all together, not quite a confirmed divergence. Probably need to see like a nice little spike out of here. Bang, right? Whoops. Sound effect was too much. Sorry. Bang, right? Get this thing out of here. Nice big up bar. That'll force the MACD to confirm that divergence. And then we want to go into stalking mode, hunting for those W's. Willie stupid? Check. Location? Check. Just want that divergence confirmed. Then we'll know that the market's a lot stronger than what price is leading us to believe. And then you go into the sort of structure, timing my purchase to try and, be in the trade as least amount of time possible, grabbing those double bottoms kind of idea. So it is building. And I think, this is this whole space. I think we're right back in it, guys. I said this a day or two ago. I think we're back into that space where probably now, because of the Trex and Polo and, Cryptopia now is playing the game with delistings and stuff. Probably a good idea to be able to give yourself outs. This guy only trades on 2 exchanges. Some people have opinions about Hitbit. Your opinion is your opinion, whatever. So, our community will give you our opinion, take it for whatever it's worth, and try and, remember, we're just trying to help people here. It's not like we have any agenda with any of these exchanges. So, think about it from that perspective. Can you download a wallet onto your own computer just in case these exchanges do decide to poop their pants and delist them? The fact that these things are, KuCoin, this seems to be kind of like the flavor of the month. A couple months ago, it was Binance. It might be cool if we start hearing about drivers that, they're going to be listed on Binance, stuff like that as sort of reasons to buy. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the coins that just popped and gave everybody a whole bunch of doubles was just simply this Civic. It was just simply the fact that they were going to list this thing on Binance that caused the rally to give everybody free positions. So, if you can try and, couple your trade idea around those kind of fundamental drivers, I think that always helps. But on balance, what I like about this site, right, is that people aren't coming and asking about coins that are right up at the top end of the trading range because they know Brian's going to go, oh, fuck, there's no way I could touch that. So I like the fact that, at least you're shopping in the right area. You are thinking about trying to buy against lows. And, nobody in the public is interested. That's when we want to be interested. So I like it. I'm going to give your idea, Miguel, I'm going to give it a B, maybe even a B plus. You know, it's not a bad idea whatsoever. If it was on Trex like I don't have an account on KuCoin, I probably should get off my ass and do it. If I had an account on there, I'd definitely go and do a nanny nibble and probably pick some of that up today. Pound the table, load up, balls to the walls, and maybe a little bit early. Okay, the next one on the list, GNT. And I noticed this one. This is an interesting one in that it had just an absolutely insane wick, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. Yeah, just an absolutely insane wick here, right? I mean, woohoo! That's crazy. The good part about this is, I don't know, maybe I've been doing this so long I see this stuff in my sleep, but the one thing that I try to teach all the level oneers, you want to make your life easy in this game. Everybody watching this video, you want to make your life easier at this game. Julian, when he comes on, actually, it's kind of sucks because I thought we were going to try and get Julian to give us a presentation today, but I guess he couldn't make it on here. But you want to make this easier on yourself, everybody. Try and trade with the trend. Try and find ideas that have weekly W's, right? When I was, I'm taking a bit of a break this term. Grim doing a fucking stand-up job. I just sit and listen to his presentation to the level 1 group over the weekend. Just beautiful. And what I love about Grim is he's so level-headed, so calm. You know, it's just business as usual. Build your plan. You better, do what you say you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. But one thing I used to always tell the new level oneers coming in, you want to make this easy on yourself. Find weekly W's, right? Weekly chart, weekly W. I don't have a problem whatsoever people coming in and buying against, and you can see just off of this absolutely insane range. And I don't know whether I would personally use this wick because it's just so, I don't know what the driver was around this. Was it a fat finger? Was it some guy who just didn't know what he was doing? Just, FOMO buying it up here? I don't know. If we want to just go off of clotheslines, that peak right there, that's fine. You can see how I drew that reload zone off of the clothesline levels. If you want to use this wick, that's fine. You can see how Ian's 88.6 is nice and down here. 78.6 is basically that W. And that's probably why a lot of this sort of the market when it came back down, it stabilized right around here, is because everybody wants to get in off of this weekly W level. If anything, maybe you can see this is a weekly chart. What 3-bar pattern does this look like? Let's see. We'll do a little quiz for the YouTubers. Jacques, you're meowing at me. Try and tell me what this bar, and this bar could potentially represent. And that would give you a level right there. Any ideas? How about you guys here in the lounge? Well, this is a doji here, but what's this 3-bar pattern? Inverted. We'll help you with that. Good, Jacques. It's a fractal. Good. This is actually what we call an empire pattern. It's upside down. And if you flip it around, you should see sort of like the Empire States Building. So, considering this weekly breakout level, it doesn't surprise me if this thing goes and fractals here, empires here. Full disclosure for the site, is Brian going to be buying up here? No. If I'm not mistaken, I think we were buying a bit more of this for the alt portfolio down in this area here. And if I'm not mistaken, too, I think I got a little bit lazy and didn't have my sell orders working, and I missed that rally. But I don't know. I think I got a double off on this. But anyway, long and short of it here is this is probably a really good anecdote of the sort of seasonal nature of crypto. And you can see how they're getting ready for the summer silly season, right? You can see this is May. Right, there's July, so this thing peaked in June, right? Could we easily have a nice little rally up into this area? Wicks and tails like to be eaten. I do not think that this is finished with here. If we head back down to the daily chart a bit, there's probably some price gaps up here that we could be hunting. I notice Sen's script has got a gap. Looks like right. And I love this. You want to make this easy, guys, right? Make this nice and easy for yourself. Go grab Sen's script. I mean, we don't want to really reinvent the wheel here. We want to try and make this as easy as possible on you guys. But Sen's basically telling us that there's a price gap right in here somewhere. So let's see what we got here. I think it's right there. I think that's it there. Yeah, there it is. God, I love this script, Sen. I could kiss you, I swear. Mwah. Actually, I haven't seen Sen on the site much. Anyway, can everybody see the price gap right there? So, we line up the price gap, and usually, for gaps to be filled in, we actually want to see a candle body fill in that level. So that means I fully expect this price to actually close at that level at some point down the road. And of course, there is reload zone. So what a shock. If the market did rally into there and then roll over, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. So on balance, I like what I'm seeing. It's good looking trade. You can see the W here on the daily basis. What do you think, guys? And somebody who knew, let's see, do we have any? Who's this person here? Am I pronouncing that right? Cassia? I don't think I've met you before. Hello, Cassia. Mike? All right. I don't think I've met you before. Oh, here's this one. Cameron? Do I know you, Cameron? I know we had a Cameron in a level 1 last term. But anyway, a couple people, and I always like to do that. If you're in the lounge, I'm going to call you out. So you better be listening. And Quinn, I see you over there on YouTube. So the point here is, can you see how this trade developed? Right? Huge rally off the lows. Woohoo! Don't chase. Draw your reload zones. All right, let the market come back down into reload zone. All right, well, we're getting interested. Could you nanny nibble? Sure. Whoa, look at this. Then do we have divergence? Oh, Jesus. Can everybody see the divergence that's come in here? Zoobity zoo. All right, breakout through here. Thomas talks to you guys about this every single day. There's no reason why you guys aren't all divergence stalkers, hunters and gatherers. Try and throw on an overbought, oversold indicator. Is Willie stupid? Well, lots of stupidity in here. We even got stupid again. I love when you get these sort of multiple stupid readings where you get, this is sort of the market trending. This is what we call embeddedness. And then these quick little dips following the embedded, get out of embedded, and then give us the quick little dips into oversold and give us W's and stuff. My hunch is I think the big breakout actually came on this W right here. So, put it all together. Location, divergence, stupidity, give me a big fat W. And, this was my question. And I didn't see any of you guys that I called out answer. Cassia, am I pronouncing your name right? Cassia? And who is the other person I called out? No slackers here. You're going to work, damn it. Mike, okay. Can you build a plan to do this? Location, divergence, structure, go. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And you tell me, could you have made any money on that signal? Should be pretty much as plain as day. So that's the kind of shit. And, I was saying, I don't know whether I feel too comfortable here, but this is interesting because one of our longtime site members, and he was chatting away on the YouTube page. I think he joined us here. Yeah, there he is, Dav. Dav, would you get a Davo signal, W in OBV with W in Willie? And we're getting a nice little W in price. Remember we talked about that fractal off the weekly chart? So it'd be interesting. Dav, nope, Dav doesn't get a signal here. Fuck you, Brian. All right, well, I thought I'd ask. What the hell? It was a model that he developed, and that's why we call it the Davo. But anyway, you shake it. I do like what I'm seeing here. I think this thing's going higher. And I think, we did load up here, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go and look on the charts. I love this. This is basically my bread and butter and what I teach in this course. And I'd love to see all of you guys say, yeah, well, I bought this W here because W's are W's are W's. And frankly speaking, I see absolutely no reason whatsoever why this thing can't come up and fill this gap up top here. So from, I don't really like this level. If we could have gone long from 3,400, the target here is 20,000. I mean, you do the math. Can you live with those kind of results? I think a lot of people can do pretty well with that. Okay, and there was one more. So I hope that helped you, Lewis, Kevin S. I like the idea. I just don't know whether I would be chasing it up top here. And you can see off of that W on the price charts where I'd like to be long. And then the last one we'll do here today is Edge, EDG BTC on Trex, edgeless. Let's see what we got there. Oh, I wanted to mention too. Did I just say something about weekly price charts? Is there something you're supposed to be finding on weekly price charts? Can you see what I'm talking about off of this chart? Anyone? I don't know. Thomas. Hey, Thomas. Nice to see you, buddy. Thomas actually is in our level 3. What I want you now doing, Thomas, of course, is you got to be finding the options on these trades. But can you guys see how this is just yet another market? There's no difference here. Same shit, different pile. And in essence, you can clearly see the W in price of cotton here. You can see the breakout. What's really cool about this chart is you can see the Wyckoff process. They bid it up. Then they check the original breakout level. They bid it up again. Then they check the original breakout level. They bid it up again. What do you think the odds are? There might be another check of the previous structure level here. Don't chase. Whatever you do, do not chase. But hopefully everybody can see this weekly W. The cool part about it, okay, Christian, he's out of here. What's interesting about Christian is he went and found this on like a big blue chip stock. No difference. Same shit, just different pile. You can use this across the entire investment spectrum, guys. It works. It's universal. You want to make your life easy? Go and find those weekly W's. All right. So and actually what's really interesting is the price is up here. So what do you think the news agencies are talking about right now? Does it make sense that with the price up here now, the news agencies are all coming out and talking about how wonderful cotton is, what a great investment it is? Does that make sense, guys? Do you think that if the news agencies are talking about how wonderful cotton is, that we should be buyers here? Hopefully everybody goes, no, can't touch it, can't touch it. Okay, wanted to just touch on that. Okay, so the request here, and guys, I see you posting requests in the YouTube page. The whole reason why we have this daily brief request room, please pop into here and post them on here, please. Jacques, pretty please. Giant SA Town, can you please come into the daily brief request room and post that in there, please. Pretty please with sugar on it. I'd appreciate it. How do you get to that room? Well, all you do is you just click on here. You click on daily brief request room and boom, up it comes. See? I can just go boom. And there it is. Wasn't too difficult, eh? Okay. I mean, I see you guys over there. We can look at your ideas, but I would really, Nick, thank you, Nick. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could just jump into here and post them here. And if I see a whole bunch of people asking, then I'll get off my butt and I'll do something. Please do a quick look at the BTC USD bearish bot attempt. Really need some feedback on whether I'm doing this right. It's not bad. What I would have liked to have seen off of here, and it just didn't give it to us, is I'd like to have seen 3 highs to risk against. You've got 1 high here. I'm working a really big one. I'm kind of breaking the rules a little bit on my bot setup in that I I was, I like to teach you guys best practices, so I do understand. I had one gentleman go yesterday, well, Brian, it didn't come back to the 33% level, so you're kind of breaking the rules. And you're right. I did break the rules a little bit. As I said in yesterday's video, I've been hunting this short setup for a while now. I wanted to get short. I wanted to risk against these highs. But did she come back to the 33% level here? No, we got to about 30% and then started emming out materially. So I can appreciate that if somebody was like, well, Brian, that's not a textbook bot, is it? You're right. Kind of cheated a little bit here. And if anything, maybe I'm getting punished right now for that. But we'll see. Only time will tell. With regard to yours, do you see how, like, off of this dead cat bounce, I got one high, I got two highs, I got three highs, I got four highs, I got five highs. There's the 25 level. So I'm going to use all of these guys to defend my trade. And you could argue, and then we went after the stops. Boom, those guys get flushed out. Boom, those guys get flushed out. That's often what happens and why I like to have those three highs to risk against. So when I look at your idea here, you've got this counter trend rally, one high, but I don't have anything else. What I would have loved to seen for me to validate this was a nice up, down, up, and then fail off the 25 level. So I don't think I would actually do this trade. And then also, too, off of this particular range, you see that, bam, they slammed into the move stop to break even level. Well, that technically means then that if we do actually come back and you did take the short, say, off of here, which would be extremely aggressive, but if you did take that off of there, then actually you would be stopped out at scratch right now. You wouldn't be in this trade anymore. So whoever asked about this, yeah, I'm not overly impressed with this. I'm sorry. Not exactly the bot setup. And what I think you ought to do is go back to the library and in the setups, just go and watch the video. I did a nice long video explanation of this trade and all the lows that I used to off of the 25 level and how this played out. So that would be my suggestion to you. And you look at this chart and you see, okay, I see the lows, 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 lows. I see the 25. And so we're taking the trade off of the resolution and we're going to use all of these lows to defend our trade. That looks very different than what your chart looks like to me, right? I don't see any highs to risk against. So good try. You're trying. That's the most important thing here. My advice is probably do a bunch of paper trades. Everybody knows the exact number that I want people to paper trade any particular setup before you risk any hard-earned money. And then once you've done those, I actually think you should run a 1/10 account size. And run the entire plan, maybe a month or two off of 1/10 trade sizes. So that gives you now 20 trades. 40 trades. If you're if you've made it through those 40 trades, you're seeing nice P&L. You're seeing a nice win-loss ratio. You're seeing the setups. Then I think you can start trading big bucks. So good try. You're trying. That's the good thing, and hopefully my feedback here for you today helps you a little bit. Okay, we never did get to this EDG, so let's go take a look at that. And I'm getting into that feeling again, guys, for whatever it's worth, that and I think I've told you about this before. We get into windows. We got into this window in about October, early November last year. Then we got into this window at about the middle of February-ish, somewhere around there, beginning of March kind of idea, where it feels to me like it's almost like you could randomly pick like 20 names, and on balance, if you just bought them right now, you're probably going to make money if you can hold on to them for a few months. I would argue same sort of thing here. The fluff has been taken out of the story. Of course, you always have to be concerned with delistings and, is this thing going to be booted off an exchange, and is that going to generate a whole bunch of selling? So there's always that concern as well. I don't really like to go and buy coins that have a bazillion, gazillion, jazillion coins out. 87 million, that's not too bad. $45 million market cap, though, this isn't cheap, right? It's getting up there. It's actually very similar to that last story that we were looking at. And it's funny how we used to, years ago, we used to say, the ideal scenario was about somewhere between like $500,000 and $1 million. And then the market went crazy. And then I think the base now is somewhere like around, I don't know, $10 million. Is the base now in these cryptocurrencies now going to be in the sort of $50 million range? I don't know. Only time will tell. But on balance, I don't mind the amount of coins out. That's not bad. And of course, like we talked about, location-wise, love it. Location-wise, Nanny Nibbles, perfectly fine. I do like the fact that they are cross-listed across a whole bunch of markets, so that's good. And of course, there's Thomas's favorite exchange again, leading the pack. So, you do with Hitbit as you please. Buyer beware, caveat emptor, all that kind of fun stuff. Actually, it'd be interesting. Dav, is Hitbit in your good books? Because Dav hates a lot of these exchanges. Or no. So he says, nope, no fucking way. So be careful with Hitbit, okay, people? Just be careful. I see number 2 exchanges, Trex, and they got Liquid, and are they on KuCoin? If anything, we might get a pop up if these things are listed on that KuCoin or the Binance, right? That Civic popped on that Binance listing. So, if anything, that might help the market moving forward here. I do like the fact, though, that it's pretty well listed. That's generally a pretty good sign. So technically speaking, right against the bottom end of the range, love it. I always love just forcing yourself to go in and nibble against the bottom end of the ranges. These kind of pops should be able to produce free positions for you at the very least. I think, I can't argue with somebody who come to me and say, well, Brian, I wouldn't mind going picking up a little bit of this. I kind of like what I'm seeing here. It's not a terrible story. Do we see any sort of anecdotal evidence that the market is actually stronger than what price would lead you to believe? I'm not really seeing any serious divergence here. Probably would like to see some sort of violent pop here to break this out. And since these tails are lower than this low and that's lower than that low, maybe we could form a divergence off of this MACD histogram here. As well, I'm not really getting they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater kind of story, and this thing can have a violent pop off of an oversold condition. It's kind of like middle of the road. But at the same time, too, we often teach new site members the easiest way to use these momentum oscillators, especially price momentum oscillators. Just simply ask yourself, which side of the midpoint of the indicator is the indicator actually on? And you can see we put in a nice W off of its midpoint here. The moving average is moving above the midpoint. The moving average is putting in structure off the midpoint. So on balance, looking at this, I think this market wants to go into bull mode here. So that's good. And also, too, we talked about it seasonally. In essence, there's nothing going on here, right? This is going all the way back to the end of the year. There is basically that last, winter's fluff. You can see nice juicy wicks up here that could be eaten. Suppose it'd be kind of cool to check out if Sen's got any gaps. It looks like there's a gap somewhere right around here. So that's 12,000. Notice the bottom here is coming in around 7,000. What a coincidence, right? In essence, that will generate your free trade for you. And, I'd also say, too, we could probably just do a little Fibo. It's not Fibs, it's WD Gann, but that's another conversation. And you can see that sitting at 14,000. So a very natural technical bounce, basically taking us right back into this old. Think of it this way. There's a lot of people that placed bets up in this area, right? Both long and short. And if we can get back up into that area, there's a lot of these people that would be more than happy just to say, okay, I'm done. Get me out. I'm never going to buy another one of these goddamn cryptos again. So think of this as a natural supply area on the price charts. And then, if we talk about reload zones, it shouldn't surprise us. My hunch is the top of RLZ is going to be right into these wicks here. Let's see what we get. Yep, there we go. So a mountain man sitting right up against the top of this candle body here. And in essence, that reload zone is those wicks. There's a whole bunch of trapped bulls right up here, and they would absolutely love nothing more than to be released. Now, for us, looking at this, is there some money to be made here? Anybody? What do you think? How about you guys over on YouTube? Any money to be made on a name like this? This is the kind of thing where this is where your sort of nanny nibbles strategy really pays off. You could go in and just throw $1 at this thing. And we've had some people that have been like, well, nanny nibbles, if this thing craps out, when do I say, oh, fuck it, I better get out of here? The whole point of nanny nibbles is I don't have to call her on the phone and say we're getting stopped out. That's why you take super, super low risk trades. Less than 5% of your portfolio, ideally really 1, 2, 3% of your portfolio. And realistically, I know it looks crazy when I do this, but realistically, I think you could throw $1 at a name like this. And actually, we probably should do it the other way around. I think you could throw $1 at this. There's your buck. I'm just going to go in and throw my buck at this thing. And could I see a multiple of bucks being handed back to me? And as a trader, should I consider this trade? Even if this only worked 50% of the time, you got to take this trade every goddamn day of the week. You can just risk against this range if you want to do more than that 1, 2, 3% of your portfolio. But if we break these lows, you better get the fuck out of there. It's just that simple. If you don't want to have to worry about getting stopped out, don't put too much money into this. You can just go nibble. And I seriously think like the risk reward on these names is extremely compelling right now. So there's my thoughts on that. I've got a whack of this if I'm not mistaken. So I certainly don't need to go and buy more. Would I, if I didn't have any of this on this, would I go and pick up some of this? Absolutely. This is a no-brainer in my opinion. Okay, we gave you a bit of extra there today. We looked through 3 or 4 ideas. It's now about 1:30, so I think we'll probably leave it at that for today. Thank you for posting these, and I'll make a concerted effort at the end of tomorrow's to give you guys a good maybe half hour, 20 minutes or so, and look specifically at your coins, because I've had a number of people ask if I could do that. So. Okay, so why don't we leave it at that for today? I hope you guys enjoyed the conversations. We gave you a little bit of sort of, stock market, what the hell's going on in there. We gave you a little bit of Bitcoin, what the hell's going on in there. We've got this side issue with EOS and Ethereum. We gave you a little bit about what's going on there. We've given you a few ideas that I have been buying. I didn't buy anything. Actually, I'm a bit surprised. The only thing I got filled on, because keep in mind, the market was just shit its pants yesterday, which I found fascinating. But the only thing I did buy recently was this bad boy. But you can see it's basically sitting right at my buy price if you want to join me. Hopefully everybody can see the exact same logic. Same thing about that edgeless. You can see the wicks up here. So, if you want an idea to chew on, we've given you a few ideas here today. Play from a position of strength. Make sure to have those open orders working at appropriate levels. I think there are some very compelling ideas. You can see this is a perfect Wyckoff model. Can everybody see the divergence? Can everybody see Willie? We already picked on Cassia. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Cassia? Probably not. Let's pick on John. and I think I know Cameron, but I'm not sure. John, I don't know whether I know you. I guess we've lost a few people as I've been blabbing away here. And anybody on YouTube, right? Can you see the divergence? Can you see Willie Stupid? Can you see Willie Stupid with a W? Let's see if we get an OBVW here. Oh, no OBVW. Well, actually, look at that. Ooh, little bit of buying that comes in here through the day. That might confirm. Dav, are you still here? What do you think, Dav? Would that be a Davo? I love quizzing him. Long and short of it there is I'm starting to see some pretty good structure coming in off of this guy. So, there are ideas out there. Enjoy your time in the market. Go slowly. There's no hurry. Build your plan. Try and figure out what type of risk taker you are. Act appropriately given the type of risk taker you are, and get out there and have some fun in the market. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that for today. All the best, everyone, and bye for now.